The savannah has no memory of the weak. A young leopard that once lost its mother in the heart of lion territory must now return to that very land to protect her own cubs. And this time, failure means her entire bloodline vanishes from the savannah forever. The life cycle of a queen, from cub to savannah legend. In northern Serengeti, where the dry grasslands stretch into infinity, lies a world built on absolute silence. This is no place for vanity or the roaring dominance that rules the plains. Here, the shadows harbor Africa's most elusive predators. Leopards do not rely on the brute strength of a pride like lions do. They survive through cold patience and the ability to vanish in broad daylight. Every branch, every bush is a fortress, where a single centimeter between life and death is measured by a solitary breath. But the savannah governs with a brutal code that no creature can escape. Even a perfect predator, a master of stealth, can become prey in one vulnerable moment. As the rainy season recedes, leaving behind sun-scorched plains, an old dynasty collapses, leaving a deadly vacuum in its wake. Deep within the steppe, a new life named Nyra is born. She does not yet know that the savannah has already prepared its harshest trial for her. A place where even breathing is a desperate gamble against death. The journey of a phantom predator begins now. As a cub, Nyra couldn't possibly grasp just how dangerous the savannah truly was. To her, the world was nothing more than chasing exotic insects and nesting against her mother's belly whenever darkness fell. Lately, the plains have offered little to hunt. The few small kills weren't enough to sustain both a mother and a rapidly growing cub. Nyra needed more food, yet, for the past 2 days, the mother leopard had come up empty. Hunger began to sap the cub's strength. If they kept waiting, she would grow too weak to survive into adulthood. With no other choice, the mother leopard was forced to leave their safe zone. venturing deeper into the grasslands right where stronger predators lay in wait. For the first time in her life, Nyra was left alone for far too long in a kingdom that pardons no mistakes. She had no idea that from deep within the leaf litter, a pair of cold eyes had been watching her family for days, patiently waiting for the exact moment her only protection walked away. What approached made no sound. There was no intimidating roar, no thundering pause of a typical hunt. It slithered like a current of darkness, slow and cold. The savannah was about to teach Nyra her first lesson in silent death, the African rock python, the most patient of them all. The moment the cold-blooded monster launched itself like an arrow from a bow, time seemed to freeze. As the death coils began to tighten, Nyra let out a few feeble whimpers, hoping her mother would hear and come to her rescue. She was only centimeters away from having her final breath choked out of her. Then, a miracle happened. Hearing Nyra's cries, the mother leopard rushed back. She froze for a split second at the sight of her cubs suffocating, then lunged at the python. She delivered a slashing swipe that tore through its scales and bit straight into its neck, throwing her entire body weight into crushing her opponent's lethal intent. She wasn't trying to kill the enemy. She was clawing her cub's soul back from the brink of death. By the time the monster finally vanished into the dark grass, Nyra was still trembling beneath her mother's protection. For the first time, she understood. On the savannah, the most terrifying creature isn't the one that roars the loudest, but the one that waits in silence until you have nowhere left to run. This year, the dry season arrived early, harsher than any law of nature. The nutrient-rich prey had already migrated to lands with fresh grass and precious water sources. Hunting grew increasingly difficult. To keep Nyra from starving, the mother leopard was forced to make a fateful decision. Leave the sanctuary of the treetops and venture closer to the open plains. This was a realm under the absolute control of a dynasty that never tolerated trespassers, lion territory. The savannah is never fair to a lone wanderer. The moment the mother leopard realized she had walked into an ambush, massive shadows were already closing the circle. In the open country, a leopard's speed means nothing against the coordinated tactics of the savannah's top apex pride. Nyra couldn't understand what was happening. She only saw her mother vanish into a cloud of red dust and roaring that tore through the air. In a final act of devotion to protect her bloodline, the mother leopard used her own life to buy her young cub's safety. There was no heroic battle ending in victory. Only the sound of crushing bones blending into the dry wind of the drought. Her mother was never coming back. That night, the savannah stripped away the last shield, protecting her from a world full of traps. From this moment on, Nyra was no longer a sheltered cub. She was entirely alone, facing the sentence of survival without any guidance. Following that silent heartbreak in the heart of the steppe, as her final protector dissolved into the red dust of the Serengeti, Nyra now faced the most terrifying enemy of any orphaned creature: starvation. With no more kills brought back to the den, and no one to teach her how to step without rustling dry leaves, Nyra was forced to write her own definition of survival through her own bloody mistakes. On the savannah, hunger is a cruel teacher, but it is the only teacher Nyra has left. No one is bringing food back after dark anymore. If Nyra cannot learn to turn her claws into weapons, she will soon become just another carcass underfoot. The savannah hears every mistake. A single centimeter out of place, a snapped twig beneath a paw, or a sudden shift in the wind. Any of it can turn a meal into a mirage. Nyra is learning the ultimate lesson of a lone survivor. Hunting is not a test of brute strength, but a war of patience and precision. There are no spectacular cinematic pounces here. Nyra lunges at her prey with the sheer desperation of a starving animal. She uses all four paws and teeth that aren't yet fully hardened to pin down the thrashing unicorn.
Got it.
Every passing second is a violent struggle between the prey's life and her own future. Finally, After a flurry of frantic wing beats, silence returns beneath Nyra's talons. This first meal is barely enough to satisfy a growing body's craving. But for Nyra, it is the moment she officially joins the ranks of the predators. The Savannah has granted her permission to live another day. That small meal bought her 24 hours. But with every success, she grows a little stronger. As her body grows, so does her appetite. Small game can no longer fill her belly. Nyra begins to eye a true target. A massive source of energy, the impala. Impala are fast and vigilant. This is no longer a game, but a true test of strength. Melting into the golden grass, she patiently waits for the slightest mistake from the herd. The wind favors Nyra. She closes the gap in seconds with a fateful strike. For the first time, Nyra brings down large prey enough to sustain her for days. But on the Savannah, victory is often when the danger begins. Ears alert, her body freezes. Chilling cackles echo through the air, signaling that Nyra's meal will not be peaceful. Hyenas materialize like ghosts. The Savannah never lets a hunt end that easily. They are in no rush, knowing Nyra cannot defend such a large kill on her own.
Work of others.
By the time Nyra senses the danger, it is too late. They have surrounded her, brazenly snatching the kill right out of her jaws. The hyenas relentlessly tear at her prize. The carcass slips from her claws, falling straight into the mouths of death. Nyra steps back, not out of weakness, but because survival matters more than victory. Tonight, her belly remains empty, but she has learned the costliest lesson of all. Making a kill does not mean keeping it. If you were Nyra, would you risk your life to defend your meal, or choose to back down and live to see another day? It was those past seasons of starvation and bitter failures that forged a Nyra the Savannah was beginning to fear. She no longer hunted on blind instinct. Now, every tree and rocky outcrop was mapped out in a survival guide written by her own scars. She knew exactly where the impala herd crossed the stream in the late afternoon, and which trees were tall enough to render a hyena siege completely useless. Nyra's presence had become a phantom shadow hanging over the plains. Even the most aggressive creatures, like Roko's baboon troop, feared the sound of her footsteps. She knew how to read every alarm call from the birds and understood exactly when the savannah was holding its breath ahead of a slaughter. This time, there was no room for clumsiness. Nyra struck like a blade sharpened by time, swift, clean, and ruthless. But the true hunt only began after the prey went down. Nyra knew that the mocking eyes of the night were already closing in. At the base of the tree, the hyenas waited in vain, forced to look up at a prize completely out of their reach. Hauling a large carcass into the canopy before death could claim it, Nyra knew she had beaten the orphan's curse. She was no longer the trembling cub hiding behind her mother. Nyra had officially become the queen of the savannah. The savannah had stripped her of everything, but it had also taught her how to take it all back through patience and intellect. The queen had returned, and the realm of the plains now officially belonged to Nyra. Yet, once she claimed the throne, the savannah presented Nyra with a new challenge, not one of fangs and claws, but a calling from deep within her bloodline. The solitary queen began to broadcast signals piercing through the night, searching for a worthy mate in the vast wilderness. In this world, romance does not begin with sentimentality. It begins with the recognition of strength. It is the collision of two proud souls who normally view isolation as their safest shield for survival. For a few brief days, the predatory instinct gave way to the urge to propagate the bloodline. They hunted together, rested together, and shared a rare moment of peace in a land usually defined by blood and betrayal. The tryst ended as quickly as it began. The rulers of the savannah never belonged to each other forever. Nyra returned to her familiar solitude, but this time she carried the seeds of a new dynasty. Nyra's mission was no longer just about her own survival, but protecting the future growing inside her from the bloodthirsty phantoms still lurking beneath the old sycamore tree. Now, Nyra herself has become a mother. And for the first time in her life, she understands why her own mother had to disappear into the night. And why silence is worth more than gold on the savannah. In this land, a single lapse in judgment can lead to tragedy. The survival rate for leopard cubs is brutally low, and Nyra knows the enemy is always close. She constantly moves her dens, relentlessly erasing every scent. Nyra is using every ounce of her cunning to protect these fragile new lives. Nyra doesn't teach her cubs with vocal calls. She teaches through patience and by waiting for the savannah to drop its guard. Lessons on how to stalk and how to move against the wind are passed down silently on the battlefield of survival. Long ago, she watched her mother hunt exactly this way. Now, she is passing those same lessons on to the next generation. Every heartbreak and every kill lost to the hyenas has become a priceless survival guide for her cubs. After countless seasons of hunting and surviving, the gallery forest is no longer an unfamiliar place to Nyra. She knows every trail, every stream, and every tree tall enough to offer escape from danger. But on the savannah, no territory is entirely safe. A flurry of alarm calls erupts, and Nyra instantly knows what it means. A lioness has entered her domain. This time, the danger has come straight to her doorstep. Once, Nyra would have fled from creatures like this. But this time, there is no empty space behind her. There are two cubs who won't get a second chance if she fails. Nyra does not back down. She cuts off the lioness's path, forcing her opponent to halt before reaching the area where her cubs are hidden. The distance between the two predators closes step by step, and neither turns away. The lioness charges, using sheer power to overwhelm. But Nyra doesn't engage head-on. She dodges to the side, countering with speed and precision. Each strike is short, sharp, and followed by an immediate retreat, denying her opponent the upper hand. She targets vulnerabilities: the face, the neck, and the openings between attacks. She isn't looking to kill, but to make her opponent pay dearly for taking another step forward. The lioness begins to hesitate. This is no longer a young leopard easily overpowered. This is a survivor who has lived long enough to know exactly when to strike and when mistakes cannot be made. Finally, the lioness turns away. She wasn't completely defeated, but she understands the reality of this land. The prize is no longer worth the risk. Once, Nyra was the trembling cub hiding in the brush while lions roared across the savannah. But now, she is the one standing in the face of danger, keeping the next generation alive. For the first time in her life, the savannah cannot strip her family away. The savannah falls quiet after the brief but fierce clash. There is no true victor, only those still standing. High in the canopy, Nyra remains, solitary, but no longer the fragile cub of the past. She needs no roar to claim power, no pride to hold territory. Her mere presence forces the plains to adapt, and that is how a queen survives. Behind her, a new generation is growing. They learn not through spoken words, but by what they witness every day. Every step, every stalk, every failure, these are the fragments of memory the savannah embeds within them. Leopards like Nyra still endure, but they are not everywhere. The wilderness that was once vast enough for a lone predator is slowly fracturing and vanishing over time. Once, she was just an orphaned cub, abandoned in the heart of the savannah, with nothing but fear and the instinct to survive. Yet, over time, the savannah failed to kill her. Instead, this very land forged her into something very few can ever become. A leopard that can vanish from the grasslands, leaving a legacy that will endure long after she is gone. And somewhere out on the plains, the legend of Nyra lives on. In your opinion, what truly makes a queen of the wild? Is it brute strength or the refusal to ever back down against the savannah?
Where every creature is wary of the invisible hunter's footsteps. A silent one creeps through the darkness, eyes piercing all camouflage. When the claws touch the ground, the whole forest holds its breath. The hunt has begun, and there will be no second chances. The silent Amazon, the jaguar, the jungle nightmare. The Amazon. The place known as the green lungs of the earth. But hidden behind that enchanting green is not peace. But a harsh world where survival is the only law. On the towering trees, rare light filters down to the damp ground. In this jungle, there are no weaklings. only those wise and brave enough to survive. Every leaf, every dewdrop, every step carries a story of fighting, stalking, and survival. And in the middle of that deep forest maze, a graceful black shadow is stepping out of the morning mist. The jaguar. Predator, it is a symbol of darkness, of patience, and deadly power. A humid morning. Drops of water fall from the towering forest canopy. The jaguar, an adult, the only big cat of the Americas, it is also the absolute ruler of the forest. Its body is not tall, but it is muscular. The jaguar is about 1.5 to nearly 2 meters long, weighs from 60 to 100 kgs, with large males able to exceed 120 kgs. Its fur is a shiny golden brown, covered with black rosettes that help it hide perfectly among the foliage and the dappled light of the rainforest. Unlike its Asian or African relatives, the jaguar possesses a fearsome jaw, the strongest bite of all big cats. It is strong enough to crush a turtle's shell, penetrate the skull. An opportunistic predator, the jaguar feeds on a wide variety of prey, from peccaries, small antelopes, turtles, caiman crocodiles to monkeys, large birds, and even anteaters. Hidden among the dense undergrowth of the Amazon rainforest, the peccary is a rustic-looking but sturdy creature. Peccaries are stocky wild boars, about 1 meter long, covered in grey-brown fur with a pale streak around the neck like a natural necklace. Their long snouts are used for sniffing, and their small eyes are always alert to danger. They do not live alone, but gather in herds of dozens to hundreds, moving closely as a unified entity. Their diverse diet, from fallen fruits, tree roots, insects to even animal carcasses, helps them adapt well to the humid forest. However, even solidarity is not enough to completely protect them from predators lurking in the dark. In the dense, dark corners of the forest, there is always a pair of eyes watching. More silent and patient than anything else. The peccary trooped along, unaware. The absolute silence was pressing like a bowstring about to be released. In the middle of the dense forest carpet, the jaguar lay close to the ground. Its golden fur was dotted with black spots that blended perfectly. Only its eyes were bright, steady, and extremely alert. A peccary strayed from the center. The jaguar did not blink. Its pupils contracted into two straight lines, locking onto its target. All it took was one sign, one misstep, one mistimed turn, and then the opportunity came. Suddenly, the jaguar shot forward like an arrow. The chase ended in a terrifying silence. Only the sound of cicadas and the smell of blood mingled in the humid air. The jaguar, with deep breathing and expressionless eyes, began to tear at the thick hide of the wild boar. There was no joy. No victory. Just an inevitable part of the survival chain in the Amazon jungle. The dry season is the mating season of the jaguar. In the quiet world of the Amazon, where every breath of wind through the canopy becomes a signal, discrete movements begin to appear. There are no fierce fights like those of lions, nor any challenging roars like those of the Bengal tiger. Everything happens quietly, but no less tense. Female jaguars send out signals with a distinctive pheromone scent, secreted from scent glands near their genitals, signaling the beginning of the estrus period. Males with their superior sense of smell will follow that trail through many kilometers of dense forest. When two individuals meet, a tense dance begins. They sniff, growl softly and sometimes play around, half friendly, half challenging. Mating occurs many times a day, many times. After the process is completed, the female jaguar will leave alone to nurture the new life. The gestation period lasts from 90 to 105 days. Each litter, the female jaguar usually gives birth to 1 to 4 cubs. She chooses very secluded places to give birth and protects her cubs from other predators. The cubs are born blind, weak, and completely dependent on their mother in the beginning. From the 6th month, the first lessons in hunting begin. The mother jaguar takes her cubs to hunting areas and lets them observe from a distance. Like the way it hunts, the jaguar's way of maintaining its species also reflects the immutable principles of nature: patience, silence, and calculation. In the heart of the Amazon, where life and death always go hand in hand, each adult individual is the crystallization of instinct, will, and the cruel choices of the jungle. Amidst the ferocity of the jungle, where every breath could be a sign of a predator, there are creatures that do not need overwhelming speed or strength. They survive thanks to their stealth, flexibility, and fortitude honed over time. In a low grassland in the middle of the Amazon, dust suddenly rose as lightly as smoke. A long grey shadow was silently crossing the edge of the forest. Not fast, not hurried, but each step carried a deep caution. It was the giant anteater. A creature so strange that it seemed to have come from prehistoric times. With its silver ash fur, its long tail like a giant broom, and its long, narrow snout, it was unlike any other animal in this forest. Its eyesight was poor, its ears were small, but its 60-fathom long tongue was the perfect weapon to penetrate termite nests deep underground. Every day it could consume tens of thousands of ants and termites, the only food on the menu of this unique creature. Although it does not eat meat, the anteater is not helpless. On the contrary, its front legs, with sharp claws nearly 10 centimeters long, can tear apart tree trunks or seriously injure its enemies. Therefore, although it seems slow, it is one of the few animals that even the jaguar, the #1 predator in the Amazon, must be wary of. The jaguar recognized the presence of the stranger from afar. Its yellow eyes penetrated the thin layer of dust, watching every move of the strange prey. Space seemed to stop, suffocating. At the moment when the sound of dry leaves rustled under the predator's feet, the anteater stopped. Its small eyes moved quickly. Its nose rose, smelling something wrong. It was no longer the sound of insects, but the breath approaching, hot from behind. In a split second, both rushed forward. Neither retreated. It opened a suffocating confrontation between the instinct of hunting and the instinct of survival. The two creatures looked at each other, not a sound. Finally, the jaguar chose to retreat. It was not hungry enough to risk its life. Today's hunt ended without bloodshed. The jaguar slowly retreated into the forest, its shadow gradually fading under the thick canopy. The anteater remained standing in the same place, its chest heaving. It had won, not by strength, but by not giving in. Life in the Amazon jungle is not just a relentless chase. It is a struggle where the line between hunter and survivor is drawn with each breath. Capuchin monkeys. The most agile artists of the Amazon rainforest are small primates, but possess outstanding intelligence and dexterity. With a body length of about 30 to 55 centimeters, a tail almost as long as its body helps them maintain balance when moving through the dense canopy. Their golden brown or ash-grey fur and bright expressive faces always make them stand out in the jungle. Capuchins are known for their ability to use tools ranging from stones to crack nuts to sticks to knock on wood to repel insects. They have good memories, know how to share food, and cooperate when hunting small prey, such as lizards, baby birds, eggs, or insects. During the dry season, capuchins also know how to seek out palm trees to take advantage of ripe fruits and the water inside, demonstrating an amazing ability to survive. Although small, the capuchin herd acts like a miniature society. They take turns keeping watch, signaling when predators appear. And when necessary, they will fight together, throwing objects and screaming to ward off danger. Smart, agile, and full of survival instincts, capuchins are a testament to intelligent evolution in the fierce Amazon jungle. Hiding under rotting leaves or clinging to damp tree trunks, the poison dart frog is living proof that beauty can sometimes be a deadly warning. They possess a brilliant skin. It is turquoise, lemon yellow, fiery orange or bright red, not to attract a mate, but to warn enemies to stay away. Underneath that colorful skin is a powerful alkaloid toxin, enough to paralyze a small predator in just seconds. However, this deadly poison is not self-generated. Scientists have discovered that dart frogs absorb toxins from a diet rich in ants, beetles, and other poisonous insects. When raised in artificial conditions, they gradually lose their toxicity and become harmless. This shows the close connection between the habitat and the species' defense mechanism. Not only relying on toxins, dart frogs are also masters of survival. They move quickly and adapt to many different habitats, from the ground, tree trunks, to damp root holes. During the breeding season, males make loud calls in the forest to attract mates. Eggs are laid in cool, moist places. Then the father or mother takes turns carrying each tadpole on their back, bringing them to small pools of water in tree trunks or insect nests to ensure safety for development. In the wild world of the Amazon, where every creature has its own way of survival, dart frogs do not need strength or speed. They survive with warning colors and toxic skin, becoming living proof of the sophistication and magic of evolution. Not only are there colorful creatures or land predators, under the murky waters of the Amazon there is another world, where darkness is an ally and silence is a weapon. There, the black caiman quietly bides its time, like a ghost of the prehistoric era. The black caiman is the largest reptile in the Amazon, possessing a giant body that can be up to 5 meters long and weigh more than 300 kg. Its thick, armor-like skin is covered with shiny black scales, helping it to camouflage perfectly in the murky water and the darkness of the jungle. Its cold yellow eyes, located on top of its head, help it observe without surfacing. Its wide jaws contain dozens of razor-sharp teeth, combined with a powerful bite force that is enough to crush large animal bones and turtle shells in a split second. Caimans are patient creatures, able to remain motionless for hours, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. Although they are at the top of the aquatic food chain, they are not without enemies. On land, the jaguar is the only formidable opponent capable of killing an adult crocodile. In the thin mist that covers the Amazon swamp, the slightest noise can be a sign of life or death. The jaguar hides behind a dense bush, its eyes fixed on a dark figure drifting silently near the shore. A caiman is sunning itself after a night of rain. Without a sound, every muscle on the jaguar's body tenses, lowering itself close to the ground. The jaguar presses its body against the wet ground, its mottled fur seemingly melting into the streaks of light that streak across the forest canopy. It does not move. Only its ears twitch slightly, catching the slightest sound. Its eyes do not leave its target. Every movement is slow, almost motionless. It circled down the wind, avoiding the scent of its body. Its claws retracted to keep quiet. Underground, its muscles tightened, tensed like a bow drawn to its maximum. It calculated the distance, estimating the ideal moment when the caiman would turn its head away. A mistake would result in the predator becoming the victim. But the jaguar made no mistake. Space seemed to stop. No roar, no warning. Suddenly, the jaguar dives straight into the water. The first bite aimed straight at the skull, the fatal blow the jaguar had perfected over hundreds of underwater hunts. The jaguar dragged the caiman's body to the shore. No hurry, no pride. Just a survivor who had just completed a familiar survival ritual in the Amazon jungle. Blood and mud mixed together, leaving a faint trace on the water's edge. Silent evidence of a battle that had ended. Under the dense canopy of the Amazon, where life and death go hand in hand with every breath, there is no room for negligence or mercy. Every creature, from the smallest prey to the apex predator, is a link in the cruel but perfect cycle of nature. The jaguar is not a king, nor is it invincible. It is simply a survivor, wise, silent, and tenacious. Like the very soul of this forest. And the Amazon, with all its mystery, harshness, and deadly beauty, continues to weave a never-ending story of survival, where every fight counts and every life has a unique value. If you are fascinated by the fierce but majestic journey of the wild world, please follow the channel and share the video. To continue to explore with us more untold stories about life, death, and the eternal instinct in nature. And don't forget, the fight for survival, still not over.